Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hive, the only podcast with true stinging commentary about the environment. I'm Jocelyn Chen. Hope you're all having a beautiful day. Today we will be taking the time to discuss the honey industry and public opinion on bees. Let's fly right into it.
According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyway, because bees don't care what humans think is impossible.
Bees have been in the public eye for a while. The 2007 children's classic starring voice actor Jerry Seinfeld, The Bee Movie, seemed like a pipe dream. The plot of the movie is that a bee named Barry Benson fights the law to reclaim honey to the bees that was stolen by humans. While this concept is wildly fictional and all-out comedic, one has to wonder, if bees could talk and navigate the American court of law, would they have a reason to demand back their honey? According to Ann Evans of the Coventry Evening Telegraph, a single worker bee may visit up to 10,000 flowers in one day and, in her lifetime, produce only a teaspoonful of honey. Honey is how bees store the extra nectar so that they may be nourished in a time where there are little to no flowers to forage from. It's crucial to the proper nourishment of bees within the winter season, when nectar is rarer. The honey industry dedicates itself to producing honey through the exploitation of bees. The methods used in collecting of wild honey range from small-scale production to industrial-scale productions. Barry, in the Bee Movie, fights for the health of the bees, which is often overlooked as companies try to attain the most profit possible. Many use unethical practices to make their profit margin bigger and their production more efficient. One such practice is culling. Most species of bees either hibernate or slow down on honey production in the winter due to decreased access to flowering plants. With a decrease in honey production, companies often find it cheaper to kill an entire hive rather than feeding them through the winter. Another practice common to the industry is killing or clipping the wings of the queen bee. Clipping the wings of the queen means that she is unable to move to other hives, and therefore taking her swarm with her. The movement of swarms is necessary for bee reproduction. Many beekeeping businesses also kill the queen bee after 2 years. This is because after a period of time, the queen produces less pheromones that keep the swarm of bees close together. Replacing the queen means a stronger pheromone signal, making it easier to keep the swarm together. Additionally, bees are frequently transported to help pollinate crops. Pollinators alone are responsible for 75% of the produce we have access to. Commercial bees are often transported thousands of miles to make honey and to help pollinate plants. In the past, the industry has done a good job of transporting bee populations. In other occasions, transport can stress bees, causing bee death. This and poor breeding practices has caused bees to have little genetic diversity. The sameness of the bee population makes them highly susceptible to mass wipeouts via invasive species like mites, disease, or otherwise. Even though bees are just another insect, they are crucial to our food market and production. Without them, we would be without hundreds of different types of produce along with any goods made from their products, such as lipstick and candles. For that reason, we must regulate the welfare of bees to prevent mass extinction and an economical collapse. Our research only surfaces 3 companies that have bee welfare policies. 3. The statements made in an attempt to protect the bees are vague on what exactly was being done to help out the bee population in the first place, so logistically, these policies were only a step above useless. It's also worth noting that not any bee is used to harvest honey from. An important distinction to make is what kind of bees are used to make the honey you find on the shelves of grocery stores across the world. Native bees, which include bumblebees and carpenter bees, are better at pollinating than honeybees, which are the type of bee used to produce commercial honey. As reported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, both genders of native bees are able to pollinate, and these populations are active earlier in the spring. They also tend to be unaffected by pests that interfere with honey production. As you continue reading the USDA's report, you can see why the industry prefers honeybees. They simply produce more honey. Honeybees live in massive colonies and also do not hibernate, therefore producing the largest yield of honey. Even though native bees are more effective and the honeybee is more vulnerable, the honey industry relies on the honeybee to make more than 176 million pounds of honey annually, raking in a whopping $215 million. So, would Barry Benson have a viable case? In short, yes. The honey industry is actively taking advantage of a weaker bee species to make more honey for less money, with no regard for the role honey has within a colony or for the honeybee population at large. As it turns out, The Bee Movie is not only a work of modern art, but also a mild exposé on the honey industry, causing us to think about our choices as consumers and the role we play in the exploitation of the bee populace. We'll be right back after this short break. What do people think about bees? I polled many of my peers and other people on the street asking this question, asking what they think they know or their general opinion on the pollinator. Here's what they came up with.
Are you scared of bees? Not if they're in my house, then yeah.
What makes them scary to people?
Just because of the fact that they have the ability to hurt people, probably.
Yeah.
Which is why.
Your dog can hurt you.
Yeah, I know.
Your cat can definitely maul you in your sleep.
I love her though, so I love bees. They're so cute and small and fluffy.
Well, I think that they're very necessary for a lot of crops. And they're also pretty scary because I swell up like a pumpkin if I get stung.
Why do people find bees scary? The fear has been pinned upon a multitude of small reasons such as the fear of being stung, bees looking scary, and allergies. This fear, technically called apiphobia, is practically unfounded when one is to look at the facts behind bees and realize the need we have for them as a populace. And maybe once we teach others not to be scared of bees, we can teach them not to purposefully kill them when they see them in their yards. Firstly, to address the fear of being hurt. Bees do not want to sting you. In general, they are not aggressive and only sting as to protect themselves or the hive. If you present as a threat by swatting at them or attempting to destroy the hive, for example, they will sting you. But if you are presenting yourself with a calm demeanor and mind your own business, the bees will go about its own. Bees die when they sting, as when they do, the barb at the end of their stinger will get caught in your skin, and if they try to fly away, the stinger will tear out all of its internal organs. In short, bees pose far more of a threat to themselves than they do to you or your family. Secondly, to address bees looking scary. BuzzFeed's Marissa Dukowski, a community creator, wrote a whole article dedicated to, quote, why you should always run away when you see a bee. Insects that have a tendency to look scary logically should be feared. For example, a large insect with a tail that ends in a large stinger, like a scorpion, will logically strike fear into one's heart upon a single gaze. However, once you're up close and personal with a beehive, you'll realize that pollinators are just pom-poms with legs compared to the rest of the animal kingdom. Lastly, to address allergies. The fear within allergies is the most founded of the fears when it comes to fearing bees, as when someone has a bee allergy, bees do pose a death threat. Anaphylactic shock is never something to joke or mess around with. When a child's life is in danger due to a simple bug, a parent will do anything in their power to protect them, including smashing a perceived aggressor. This fear likely cannot be fixed, even with the reassurance that bees don't want to hurt them, simply because of death. However, when a bee swarm is found in the home or yard of someone with a bee allergy, instead of calling over someone to kill these bees via gas or poison, they could simply call a relocation service or local beekeeper who would be glad to take the misplaced bees and give them a new home in their own struggling hives. There are a multitude of organizations that will remove bees from your home and give them a safe place to live. For example, the Bluegrass Apiary. Some people are afraid of bees because they are naive to their importance to our environment and society as a whole. Bees alone are a $19 billion industry to the U.S. Without them, many would be without livelihoods. They also account for the existence of foods like tomatoes, bananas, apples, and strawberries, as they are the sole pollinator for those fruits. In fact, most of the food that we eat can only exist because of the existence of bees. According to CNN's article, What Would Happen If All Bee Species Were to Disappear, of 100 crop species that provide 90% of our global food supply, 71 are bee-pollinated. In conclusion, apiphobia, in most cases, is an unfounded and harmful fear. If we are scared of bees and seek to harm them rather than to protect them, we will soon find ourselves in an extremely grave predicament. Most people have heard this phrase many a time, but it's necessary to repeat. Save the bees. Thank you for listening to The Hive. The Hive is brought to you thanks to a combination of factors, specifically the support of our sponsor Ben Crawford and support of our families towards our community work and outreach that allows the student-run podcast to exist. Special thanks is offered to Zoe Jenkins, who co-wrote this episode, and to Kemen Emmons and Rose Konopka, who are the contributing artists that made the cover art for the show. If you'd like to contribute to the continued existence of The Hive, contact us at dunbarcmps@gmail.com or visit our website www.cmpsbees.weebly.com. Again, that's dunbarcmps@gmail.com or cmpsbees.weebly.com.